After you've entered your budget into CenterPoint, there are multiple ways to print the budget out of CenterPoint. One way would be to use our regular reports and choose some options to show budget information on those reports. And another way is to print the budget directly from the budgeting tool. This video will be discussing printing the budget from the budgeting tool. To do that, I'm going to first open up my budget by going to Reporting Tools and Budgets. I'm going to select the budget that I'm going to print and click OK to open it. On the budget properties screen, if I don't need to make any changes, I can click OK and it'll draw up my budget. When you're entering in a budget, we're usually entering in the budget in a monthly format. However, you might not need to print it in a monthly format. So that would save you some horizontal space. So first we're going to talk about some options to save you either horizontal space or vertical space before printing the budget. One thing to note is when you do print a budget, it is going to print whatever tab you're on. So right now I'm on the Flow of Funds tab. So if I chose to print the budget, I would be printing that report. I'm going to go to the Income Statement tab because that's the report that I want to print. First off, I had said that you could change from the monthly format to another format. So there is an option underneath Format to go to a different predefined layout. So you can choose from either monthly, quarterly, or annual. I'm going to choose quarterly. And then it's going to ask us whether or not we want to see budget data or actual. Since I'm printing my budget, I want budget. On the balance sheet, do you want to see book values or market values? And do you want to filter all of the columns by any details such as a profit center or a project? If you do, you can make those selections. I'm not going to filter my columns. I'm just going to click OK, and it's going to reformat mine into a quarterly format. So you can see that's going to save a lot of horizontal space on my page. If your columns aren't wide enough, then the dollars in those columns will show in this compressed format where you're not going to be able to read them. So you can expand out those columns a couple different ways. You can go to the column heading and get this double arrow, hold down your left mouse button and drag it wider, and that will allow you to see more information in the column. Another way to easily change that column width is to just double click on the column heading, and that'll do a fit to size on that column so that everything will fit in the column. There are some other options that will save you both horizontal space and vertical space before printing the budget. Those can be found underneath the View menu. The first is to just turn off the display of any cents. If you don't need to see those cents, then you can toggle between showing them and not showing them. So right now they're showing. I'm going to toggle them off. And of course, that would save me some space horizontally. So that might be the first thing that you want to do. Then underneath View, you can choose to hide any zero columns. If you have any zero columns, there might not be a need for printing those, so you can hide the zero columns. The next option is not going to save you space, but if you do need to show any quantity columns or any price columns for printing of your budget, you can choose that option and show which ones you want to display. Do you want to show quantity 1 or quantity 1 price? Do you want to show quantity 2 or quantity 2 price? So you can turn on whichever columns you want, and it'll show that column for each of the displayed columns. Underneath the View menu, you also have some options here that are going to save you some vertical space. The first one is whether or not you want to hide the categories. So notice here on my budget, I'm going to get out of that menu, that these are each of my account categories, and after each account category, I also have a total line. If I don't need to see all those breakdowns of those categories, I can choose to view and hide the account category, and that's going to consolidate things a bit. Now I'm just seeing all of the accounts. If I like the organization of the account categories, though, I can turn that back on just by toggling it back on. Underneath view, you also have two options for hiding 0 rows. One is to hide all 0 rows. That's the first option. The other option is to only hide the 0 rows for inactive accounts. So you can choose which one meets your purposes the best. I'm going to hide 0 rows, and that provides me a little more space vertically, and I'm not printing a bunch of 0 rows. Underneath the view menu, you can also change the detail level in which you're seeing things. If I want to consolidate things and if I don't need to see all the postable accounts, I can choose that option to view just account categories. Like you can see that I selected just view account categories. And that way everything is consolidated to the account category level, and it's a much shorter report. I'm going to go back to the detail level of account level 3, but again, you have that option to choose any one of these detail levels to make the report a little more consolidated. Last on the view menu are the options to hide the template level indicators, which are the green and sometimes yellow and red options that you have over in the far left margin. So I'm going to hide those because those will print as well. And I might also want to hide the plus and minus signs. Now keep in mind the plus and minus signs let you collapse and expand each section. So if I hide them, I'm not going to be able to do that. But for printing, I might want to hide them. So I'm going to go to view and I'm going to hide the group level indicators. Okay, so now that my report's a little bit more cleaned up, I'm ready to print the report. And I could go straight to print the report by going to File and Print, and that would allow me to print it. But you might want to make some formatting changes before you do that. So you would probably want to go to Page Setup. Now the Page Setup screen does allow you to go directly to print from it by choosing the Print button, and it also lets you preview the report by clicking the Print Preview. If you have so many columns, if you preview the report and you find out you have so many columns they won't fit on a portrait-sized sheet of paper, you can change it to landscape. If you still can't get it onto that single sheet of paper, you have some options for adjusting the scaling to go ahead and increase the scaling, decrease the scaling, fit to 1 page wide, fit to a certain number of pages tall. So you have some options to play with there, and you can, make your changes and preview it and see if that gets you to where you want to be. You also can play with margins. So we have some default margins set, but you can increase or decrease the margins. You can choose whether or not you want to center the information on the page horizontally or vertically, or both. Under the header, there is no default header or footer on the report. So if you want to, you could add a footer or header. I could choose from some predefined footers and headers, such as underneath footer, I could choose to print page number so-and-so of however many pages. So I'm going to put that in my footer. So I'm going to put the page number in the footer, but I can also add a custom header or footer. So if I wanted to add a custom header that says, CenterPoint Farms budget, I can add that. There's also some other options for adding date, time, things like that onto it that I can select from below. But I'm going to just add CenterPoint Farms budget as my header. And my last tab, the Sheet tab, lets you do things like, freeze the headers so that they print on each page, freeze the column. I could say that I want to print the row and column headings, which are the A, B, C, D, E, F, G that you see. You might not want to print those, but you can. So you can play with some of the options here. You can choose which columns to repeat on each page, which column headings to repeat on each page, which row headings to repeat on each page, by going ahead and selecting these options and then taking and choosing what it is that you want to print on each page. When you're done, you could click the Print Preview. Now my print preview, I actually didn't choose to print any row headings, so you can see that my row headings aren't being repeated, but I am seeing that header that I put in, and I'm seeing the footer, which is the page number that I selected. If you need to go back to that screen and make any changes, I could click close. If I'm ready to print the report, I can click the print button and print the report from within here. When I'm done, I could click close and I would return back to my budget. And then I could go to one of the other tabs and print out that report if needed as well.